So, according to reports, crude oil price has fallen by 40% in Monday's trade, down to about $10. Traders are becoming more concerned that oil storage facilities are reaching their limits as stockpiles continue to build owing to the crash in demand caused by COVID-19. Joining us on the show is the energy consultant, Mr. Charles Majomi. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure.
So for those of us that are watching on international news, when we saw oil selling for below -$0, everybody got scared. And someone else saying, no, that doesn't concern us. Ours is different. Well, Brent is still about $10. Could you help us understand the difference? Because some people are worried if the oil that Nigeria is trading is the one that is actually selling for $0 or below $0. Could you just clarify for us?
No, the one that's selling for below $0, actually currently at about -$37, is the American crude oil, known as the WTI crude, which lists differently and is really sort of crude specific more to local demand, that's created more for local demand in America. Okay. So my response to you is, while it is not Brent, it's not the crude oil that we as Nigerians use for trading, it is a sign of times to come. The complete shutdown of the industry in America was based on one thing: lack of local demand. And that was driven by one thing: the pandemic and the need for isolation and the need for cutting back on work in the United States. So you can see potentially, if you can extrapolate beyond the United States to the rest of the world, where China is, for the first time in 30 years, seeing a cutback in its growth, where global demand for resources has shrunk on the back of economic issues, and now with the pandemic, etc., you can see how these supply chains can very quickly just shut down.
We read last week, sir, that we had over 50 million barrels waiting for off-takers. That's Nigeria. And by now, I'm sure it's much more than that. Do we have enough storage capacity in Nigeria to at least accommodate what we're drilling?
No, actually, frankly, we don't. And this is this is now the time we're going to sort of, we're going to eat the bread of our sad planning. The issue is that right now, the reason that there is a massive crash in the price of crude oil is because demand has fallen, and the powers within OPEC are fighting for market share. Now, if that is not remedied very soon, we will have a massive impact on the oil and gas industry. Now, as far as Nigeria goes, that is significant for a variety of reasons. If capital is more discerning about the kind of hydrocarbon it wants to invest in, it's going to look for better fiscal rates, better incentives to come and invest in your crude oil acreages, as opposed to doing it next door in Ghana or whatever. We don't compare favorably in terms of the kinds of incentives we have provided. The delay of our petroleum industry bill has created huge amounts of uncertainty. So it is a very bleak preview into the future, if you ask me.
All right, then. Okay. So what's the role of refineries in this issue? Because I'm thinking that if we had enough refineries that will handle the excess crude, we will be able to manufacture what we are using as individuals. That's the populace will have enough, so we are not importing the already made crude. So is there anything we can do when it comes to setting up modular refineries to help us sort out this issue? Right.
Well, first of all, Nigeria is among the highest producers the highest cost producers of crude oil in the world. Yeah. So we're immediately at a disadvantage there. Now, when you're talking about crude oil refining, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have been refining our own crude oil, providing our own products and petroleum to our own market. Sadly, the refineries have been deliberately kept to be underperforming, so that this scheme known as the fuel oil subsidy or under recovery can be perpetrated. Now, I'm extremely gratified to learn that the government has seen fit to do away with subsidy, which means that pricing will be deregulated.
Right. Fantastic.
And that might be something.
That was something I was going to talk about in a moment, but let me get a few more questions for you. Go ahead. Now, I'll come to the issue of deregulation. We've been talking about that for years, and obviously it's before us. But before I even go into that, my worry is that many state governors have not really been creative in their IGRs. States like Lagos State, a few others, have ways of generating revenue in their states. But other states, many other states, are fully, completely dependent on this sale of crude. Now, if this money doesn't come in, how would they pay salaries? Salaries that they already owe, you know. And then we now see a huge impact on poverty in our land. And that could now have a ripple effect on other things. So my worry is that how prepared are we? Are governors even thinking? Are they reading the times and looking for what they can do beyond crude oil?
You know, you hit the nail on the spot. And I'm of a belief that you never waste a crisis. This is a crisis situation. We've got to do things differently. We cannot be dependent, okay, on the whims and caprices of foreign powers, okay, that determine the price of crude oil and therefore our national budget, our national revenues, etc. We need to diversify our economy. You know, I've been on your program several times and I've always said the same thing. We don't have to look far. Gas is massively available in Nigeria. Gas has the potential to transform our economy by addressing our power needs and by creating industrial projects using gas as an industrial feedstock.
So,
if we focused on this, we would be able to have cushioned the effects of this type of catastrophe in the oil industry on us. We would have diversified our economy. We would have given jobs to population by adding value to the resources. This is where we need to go in the future.
Right.
And this crisis, this terrible thing, has basically.
All right. Let me get in a few questions for you.
Because I was going to ask you about the gas flares. You know, they waste a lot of gas. So, are you talking about that gas? The gas that is wasted when they flare the gas.
Hello, are you there? Oh, I hope we didn't lose that caller. Hello? I think we lost our caller.
Oh.
Okay, we'll try to call him back. This is really sad. It's really, really sad. And I just hope that we can actually begin to understand the impacts. Yes, YK, you're going to say something.
If we are talking about refineries, I don't think there's anything we can do in the short term.
Yes.
But we can empower the modular ones. There are modular refineries right now within the various states. But yes, we're all waiting for our uncle to finish the one in Lagos so that we can begin to refine locally. But the truth is that now that it is going 1 for 10 kobo, I don't understand how it's going to.
But if we refine the oil here now, and we start, our petroleum products are here. So instead of going to buy petrol from you be buying it from.
I hope our uncle did not buy one chance. So.
I don't understand. What do you mean by?
Okay, let me get our guests back on because there's so much to ask concerning this because Nigerians want to know. Some have kept their monies in dollars. They want to know what's going to happen to that. Is there going to be ripple effect? Some are asking now that there's a possibility that salaries might not be paid going forward because do we have enough cushion effect? You know, we're saying that you have the excess crude account. Can the resources we have there cushion the effect of this price? And how soon? These are some of the questions I want to ask him. How soon do we see that that rebound we get in the next few months? How long can we wait? Is it next year? Is it 2 months, 3 months?
It makes the future just seem very bleak.
Yeah, which is what he was saying.
It makes the future seem very bleak, and I'm afraid, you know, because when you think about it, I want to keep thinking positively, because it's only by thinking positively that you can even sleep at night.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll try to get in our guests. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Do we still have our guest, consultant Charles Majami? Are you still there, sir?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we'll be with you. Go ahead,
I had been asking about the gas flares, you know, because you were talking about gas, we should now diversify to gas. And I'm thinking, you know, these flares that they waste gas, is that the gas you're asking us to? And how possible is it for them to do it now and, you know, before it's too late?
Well, okay. First of all, there are two forms of gas. There's associated gas, which is gas that's produced as a byproduct when looking for crude oil. This is the gas that is usually flared, okay, that you see usually flared. Then there's non-associated gas, which is gas that is sought purely on its own commercial merit, and this does not have to be derived from gas that was basically discovered accidentally in the process of solving crude oil. Now, the Nigerian government put in place about 2 years ago a gas policy, that set out a means for monetizing, for ending gas flare through its monetization. The gas flare commercialization program tendered out about 89 flares that would be used, or basically would be bid out to bidding private sector companies who would want to take that gas that's being flared in terms of its volume and make a payment to government, and then conduct some kind of a utilization for that gas, whether it is to create LPG, which is used for cooking gas, etc., whether it's to create compressed natural gas or LNG. These are the products that will be created from the gas flare under this Nigerian gas flare commercialization program.
Right.
And the problem, however, is that the RFP had already started, and the bidding process was in full swing when this coronavirus struck.
Right.
So the question then is, how likely is a project like this going to be able to get the kind of capital it requires to take off?
Exactly. Hey. All right, let me get in the few.
Okay, so traders in the market have said that Nigeria's crude is still going for between $13 to $15, and it hasn't hit the negative territory yet. So what does that mean, and how, do you think it's something we'll likely come out of soon?
I think the implications for this, what is happening right now in terms of a very, very severe curtailment of demand, will have far-reaching consequences for Nigeria for a long, long time to come.
Okay.
Keep in mind also that Nigeria has the highest production cost in the world.
Okay.
So even if the price goes down to 11, it may be that actually it's not commercially viable for Nigeria to produce crude oil, because costs of it would greatly outweigh the actual...
Right. Because of time, I'll come to you, Reggie. Because I want to bring this conversation home that Nigerians can understand. Now that they're saying, we see that the oil crude has gone to between $13 and $15, and they're saying that they're going to remove subsidy. In your view, how much should we realistically be paying for petrol today? I mean, they gave us a Greek gift of $120-something naira per liter right now, but we obviously know, based on the numbers, it should be way cheaper now. How much do Nigerians expect that will be buying fuel going forward?
Look, I think when you have a deregulated market, as is required, if you're going to move beyond subsidy, you're going to have to deregulate your market. Otherwise, you will hamper your ability to be able to actively produce the kind of products that you were seeking to import. I think that the market forces would decide.
Right.
I think what you're going to be able to see is that when the Dangote refinery, for example, comes on stream,
Right.
he will not be looking at the Nigerian market and say, oh, look, he will say, look, what is the best, who's giving me the best bang for my buck? And that's where I'm going to go. I think the industry needs to take that into account post-subsidy, because it won't work any other way.
Go ahead, Wyke.
I just wanted to ask, because everything you have said, the future seems very bleak. I'm very depressed. What advice would you give the government to move forward so that the future will look a bit rosy?
Look,
Let's try to think positive now.
The advice I give government is the advice that I've actually been giving government for quite a long time. That is that we need to diversify our economy. We need to create, we need to understand, and we need to invest in the infrastructure deficit that will be required to structurally change this economy. We need to move away from crude oil, okay, and being subject to extraneous geopolitical factors that constantly impede our development. We need to diversify our economy, okay, add value to our resources, not export the raw material, add value locally to the resource. Thereby, you employ people, you create value, and you create energy security within the country. We have to start thinking differently. We have to start thinking as a nation.
Let me also ask you, so let's imagine that Dangote's refinery works today. Do we have the capacity to consume all the crude that we produce? I mean, if we want to say we're shutting down our borders, that you know what, everything we drill and the crude we get, we refine it here and consume. Does our market have that capacity, or do you think we still have to export to make some money?
I think from an amortization point of view, he will want to go to wherever the best value is for his buck, while he's paying off the incredible amount of investment that he's made into this type of thing. Okay. I believe that Nigeria is a nation of nearly 200 million people, with a growing middle class, with a very mobile population, etc. I think that demand, which has also been a very big issue, a corrupt issue within the subsidy regime, I think demand will be substantial.
Right.
And substantial enough, certainly, to justify.
Futuristically, what timelines can you give us? I mean, when will things go back to normal? I mean, right now, yes, we understand there's a global lockdown. Nobody's buying fuel. Industries are shut down. Yes, there is the excess production of crude. Yes. But at some point, we'll begin to go out, go to work. Industries will start at some point. Can we give an idea of the timelines that things will bounce back to normal? I mean,
Well, I don't think...
See a prophet.
I think what you have to do is you have to correlate potential for things bouncing back with the discovery of a vaccine.
Yeah.
As long as the vaccine is not around, the coronavirus becomes endemic within wherever you are, you're going to have these threats to production, etc. My hope is that it's going to be curbed. In terms of when things are going to get back to normal, I think there's a very big chance that things will never get back to normal that we used to know. And I think there are positives and negatives with that. For me, the greatest positive is the fact that finally the government will be forced to have
to look within.
this discussion that they've all, because they were flush with money and high crude oil prices, drunk basically, they did not focus on, and that is the need to readdress structural nature of our economy.
We have to go at this time, but I have to ask you one thing. A lot of Nigerians are worried about the value of the dollar. Would it go down now that, do you think the value of the dollar will go? Because people have carried all their money and stashed it in dollars and saying, that was a safe net. But now with all this happening, is it still, will the dollar still have value going forward?
Well, let's put it this way. This has been a tremendously bad day for the dollar in terms of American industry and etc. I think the dollar will always be able to survive Some will boom, but I think you can expect, what you can definitely expect is a severe depreciation of the naira against the dollar. Probably,
Thank you very much.
And other hard currencies, actually, in the near term.
All right. Thank you very much for enlightening us this morning. We really appreciate your joining the show. We've been speaking with the energy consultant, Mr. Charles Majami. Let's go on a break now. We'll come back. We'll discuss the plight of nurses during COVID-19. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.